We operate 7 days a week, and in any given week, there are 3,000 people who come to this campus. We operate in 22 countries. We run programs all over the world. Our MBAs travel around the world because South Africans are going to have to step up the game to handle the challenges that we have and the ones we're going to face. The paradox of South African business history is that no country of a similar size economy has produced more globally competitive companies than South Africa. I'll say that again. There's no country of a similar size economy that has produced more globally competitive companies than South Africa. And it's a quirk of fate, I think. It's one of those historical ironies that given our colonial history, given our political history, that in spite of tough conditions, blessed by natural resources, we have been able to build a diversified economy. Mandla Komfe, who's stepped down as the MEC for Finance for Gauteng, gave a speech here last year in which he talked about Gauteng as the MEC for Finance, so he should. And he said to us that Gauteng is 3% of the landmass of South Africa, but 35% of the economy and 60% of the exports. The South African economy is 10 times bigger than the Kenyan economy, which in turn is 10 times bigger than the Malawian economy. South Africa, on paper, is the institutional and economic giant of the continent. And that's with all due respect to Nigeria, which, as you know, rescaled itself recently, and rightly so. But we're going to have to move a lot faster than we have. And that ability to build capacity, to encourage a new generation of South Africans, to start up companies, and to make them work, which is one of the most difficult things to do in life, to start with a sheet of paper and an idea, and have the business sense and the common sense to know how to translate that idea, whether it's a product or a service, into a viable business, is one of life's tougher challenges. Government does create jobs. Government creates in the civil service jobs, and through state-owned enterprises creates jobs, and that's part of South Africa's economic history. But it is a central truth that 70% of our economy is in the private sector. And so unless we have a partnership with the state in terms of policy, regulation, legislation, and in terms of a common understanding of how to make South Africa competitive, we cannot succeed. The current growth rate is not politically sustainable. We have to get the growth rate up to a 6 to 8% per annum GDP growth rate. And so this initiative, which is part of what GIBS seeks to do, and the role we want to play, is key to this. It's not so much about job creation. It's much more about business creation. And what we need from government, and I'm sure the Minister will refer to this, is an enabling environment where people have access to networks, to ideas, to capital, to best practice, so that they have the chance to build the kind of business that they're able to be. So it will be the creation of businesses rather than jobs that needs to be the focus. And this has been an ongoing activity for decades now. And somehow we just seem not to have reached that vital tipping point where, as Yogi said, small and medium-sized enterprises become the foundation of a competitive economy. In this regard, big business, South African companies that have done so well, have an enormous role to play, beyond paying their taxes and beyond doing social responsibility. We need to reach out with a new idea about the role of business. If business in the next 10 years does not become fully inclusive, does not understand its vital dependence on a mandate and a license from society to operate, if it doesn't build its relationship with communities and become more inclusive and create an economy where 50 million people are all contributing actively, then I don't know what will happen. It seems to me we're very unlikely to be successful. So we need a new partnership. We need new energy of a new generation of people in civil society, in government, and in business to shape an agenda that makes South Africa the kind of competitive nation it inherently has the ability to be.